Welcome everybody, and hello. My name is Andrew David. This is the High Performance Call with Blake Nubar's partner program, Monday through Friday, noon Eastern time. Same bat time, same bat channel every single day. Now, the reason that all of you guys are here is because a certain individual decided to put something out there. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce him. I know he doesn't really need an introduction, but I don't think many of you are aware that years ago he was just a poor, lonely man strolling through the forest and the desert wastelands looking for some kind of purpose in life. And he came upon this great dungeon that rose up like a tiger out of the sands looking for a diamond in the rough. And he led his way down into the cave. And there he found a funnel. And from all of that was born our man, Mr. Blake Nubar. So everybody give him a round of applause. Say hello. Welcome, sir. Appreciate you coming on.
What's up, Andrew? What's up, everyone? It's good to see some new and familiar faces. I see Angel and Bobby, Brad, Carolyn, Cheryl. I see a bunch of you guys on right now. What's up, Ivan, Curtis, Dave, David, Eric, Aaron, Florence, GB, Hartley, Janet, Jeff, Jens, Jocelyn, John, Juliana, Kurt, Kyle, Lance, Liz, Lynn, Maria, Michael, a couple Michaels on right now.
Yeah, we got everybody.
Nancy. I mean, I could call it names forever. What's up, Patricia, Olga, Paul? How you guys doing? Dude, I am pumped to be here today. This is actually my first high performance call. So
yeah, it took like Mars and retrograde, or I don't know, Mercury and retro, whatever they say, to kind of get you on here. So it's good to get you here.
This is going to be fun. I'm inspired. I'm excited to be here. So
no, I appreciate you being on, man. So each and every day we do this. So guys, here's what I kind of want to do. You know, I've got a couple of topics, some questions that I wanted to ask Blake. Now, obviously we're going to do some Q&A. I'm going to ask a favor of you guys though, because we have an intelligent group here. You guys are awesome. A lot of you guys show up all the time for my calls. And so you understand, you know, there's that old saying that there is no such thing as a stupid question. And that's absolutely true. However, you have a young man here who has done some tremendous things in the marketing space and really transformed this high ticket offer space in a way that very few people have been able to do. He's built amazing relationships. He's built out multiple seven-figure funnels. He's built funnels for some of the top producers, marketers, and businessmen in the world. So instead of coming on and saying things like, hey, I'm thinking about using Aweber or Constant Contact, which one would you pick? Or what's going to be best for a buy now button? Should I go green or red? Instead of questions like that, ask something that, like I always say, what's going to move the needle? You're looking for an elegant idea. You're looking for something that's really going to transform your business. You know, look for that $10,000 idea, something out of today's call. Okay. So when we get to regular open questions, we can kind of dive into that. But so a couple of questions. So one question I want to start off with, Blake, like let's kind of build that foundation. How did you get into funnels to begin with?
Yeah. So I don't know if I ever really tell this story on some of the trainings, but so I got into funnels out of pure frustration. I was working at a 9-to-5, which is, first off, nothing wrong with working a 9-to-5. I want to throw that out there right away. I think there's too much, jabs and swings and punches against it. It's not my cup of tea. And for everyone on this call right now, I don't think it's your cup of tea either. Or you want to make that transition out of it, which is, inspiring. But I was working a 9-to-5. I was miserable. But we were working on this project, and this was like 3.5 years ago. I was dead broke. I couldn't rub 2 nickels to my name, working 9-to-5, paycheck to paycheck type stuff. And I remember we were working on this project, and we were building this personal training certification. Basically, if you want to become a personal trainer, you need to get certified, right? And we're building like this kind of educational course for it. And we're building this course out like 9 months into this thing. We're putting blood, sweat, and tears. And we build this thing out, and we're done. And like, we handed it over to the marketing department, and they just couldn't sell this thing. And I had no idea how to market. I didn't know what marketing was. Like, I didn't know any of this stuff. And I just remember, like, when you put so much effort into something and it's not working out, you start getting a little frustrated. So I remember going home one night, and I'm sitting there just staring at my ceiling fan, just watch like old school, like movie status, like almost like sweat on my forehead, ceiling fan just spinning. And I'm just staring at this thing. And I'm just wondering, like, why is it that I always suck? Why is it that just this cannot work out? I just can't figure this stuff out ever. It's like when I go build something, it's just, there's something along the way that just always wants to become a roadblock. And I remember I was like, it was that very moment I was kind of over that mentality, over that kind of like victim mindset. I said, you know what, I'm gonna take this into my own hands. So I remember I'm sitting there and I'm going on Facebook and I'm scrolling, and this ad by this guy named Russell Brunson comes up. I had no idea who Russell Brunson was, never heard of the guy before, but I'll never forget the ad. It was called Weird Marketing Experiments to Increase Traffic Conversions and Sales Online. I'll never forget this thing. I remember I clicked this thing and I click on this ad and it brings me to this like website, which at the time was really a funnel, but I had no idea what a funnel was. So I'm watching this crazy guy named Russell start going nuts about like, hey, if you want to sell stuff online, you need a funnel. This is what you need to do. Websites are dead. You need a funnel, all this stuff. And I just became really inspired. And I remember I was so inspired. I watched this training. It was like a 90-minute presentation. I watch it again for the second time. Now it's like 6 a.m. I'm on no sleep. I get in my car. I go into the office and I find the nearest whiteboard and I start sketching out my first idea of a funnel. Now, let me remind you, I had a total of 180 minutes of funnel training, which is basically nothing, right? And I didn't know what I was doing, but I was inspired and I was excited. So I went to this whiteboard. I started creating this funnel and the marketing department comes in and they're like, what are you doing, man? And I'm like, I think I know how we can sell this training. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, like forget that website crap. Let's use this funnel concept. And they're like, all right. And I'm kind of stepping on their toes because that's their job, but they weren't really getting it done. So, you know, as entrepreneurs, we're kind of control freaks. We take things in our own hands. So I sketch out this funnel and we were in business with a celebrity trainer. His name's Eric the Trainer, amazing guy, dear friend of mine. He basically trains like Hollywood's top stars to get them ready for like all the movies and stuff. And I call him and I'm like, hey man, I'm putting together this funnel. I'll be honest with you. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I need your help. He's like, all right, man, how can I help? And I'm like, I need you to record this training presentation. He goes, okay, no problem. Send it over. So I sent over the presentation, funnel's done. We put the presentation in, everything's ready to go. I go to the marketing department. I say, hey, listen, guys, start running some advertisements. I call it advertisements at the time. I didn't even call it ads, right? I'm like, run some advertisements to this page. And they're like, okay, man, we got you, whatever. So they start they start running some ads, right? And I remember we get people to like register for this training and they register and then they show up and Eric's delivering this presentation. I'm sitting there on pins and needles. I'm like excited and nervous at the same time. And we get to the offer to like actually provide the value and say, hey, do you want to enroll in this thing? It costs X amount of money. And right when we did it, offer drops, no one bought. Not a single person purchased this thing, like two more weeks of work. And I'm just sitting there like, oh, okay, another failure. What else is freaking new in my life? And I'm sitting there and 2 more weeks of work, we failed. Everyone's looking at me like I'm the idiot, which at the time I'm like, I am the idiot. Like it didn't work. And I remember I walk outside and I just start cursing. I'm just like, F this, F that, like why? Just miserable, right? And I remember, you know what? I'm like, you know what, Andrew, I'm not giving up yet. So I did the most lackluster.
You're in his head, you know, just subconsciously. He's like, Andrew, I'm not giving up.
I'm not giving up. I'm like, forget this, right? I'm not going to look like an idiot, even though I have no problem looking like an idiot. I'm like, I'm going to find a way to make this work. So I had one last Hail Mary effort. I walked back in the office. I did the most lackluster pedestrian thing anyone could ever do in hopes of making a sale. I walked over to my computer and I clicked on the refresh button, hoping that a sale came in. And I go and I click that refresh button and we got our first sale for $797. And my entire life changed. I went completely nuts. It completely infested my brain because I don't know if you guys have been there yet, but there's going to be a moment in your lives. Maybe you've experienced it, maybe you haven't, but there will be this very pivotal moment in your life when you make your first sale online. It could be $1, it could be $1 million. It doesn't matter what it is. There's this thing that happens in your brain where there's no turning back. It's not that you're going to become rich from that one sale. I mean, it was $800. I didn't even get $1 of that money, right? It was for the business. But what it does prove is that it's possible. It's possible to make money using the internet. And I was skeptical as hell at first, but I was like, maybe it could. It infested my brain so hardcore. I walked into the office the next day and I quit. I quit the only source of income that I was making because I was there's this quote by Steve Jobs. When you're really passionate about something, you don't have to be pushed. The vision will pull you. And I was just pulled in this direction that I've never experienced in my life. And I walked in, I quit. Was it a little emotional? Yeah, maybe. Maybe I was like, yeah, was that smart? I don't know. But quitting that job was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I set out on this journey to really understand what's it going to be like? What does it take? How can I develop an income using the power of the internet, using the thing that most people have on this planet? And I quit the next day, and the rest is history. I was fortunate enough in just 3 short years to generate, tens of millions online by basically dedicating every ounce of energy to understanding how to take my skill set, and instead of applying it and working for someone, how can I just work for myself, be my own boss, and make money doing so? And
Well,
that was my journey.
So along that line, and this kind of goes with one of the first questions, and Paul, will get to yours in a little bit. We talk about marketing a little bit later on. So Bobby's asking, starting from zero, you're talking about like you were kind of sitting there going, I've got to do this, I got to do it for me, and that was what drove you, or what was your drive at the beginning? They talk about the why. Like for me, it was family. I had hit rock bottom. I needed something. I didn't have any more time. I was going, I know I'm capable of more than this. My brain works more than my hands do. Why am I not utilizing it? Like, what was that for you that gave you the drive and the push?
As entrepreneurs, right? Here's the thing. No one ever knew what I did, right? They just don't know. It's so hard to explain what we do, and no one understands any of the stuff we do. And for me, I would love to say my why was like, I want to change the world, which I do. I want to make a lasting impact and build a legacy. But at the end of the day, when, you're dead and gone, no one even knows, right? For me at the time, it was, I want to just prove myself. As external as that was, it was never about like, sure, did I think I had some skill set that the world needed to see? Absolutely. But my driving force was not necessarily me in the infancy stages. It was, I felt like I had a chip on my shoulder, and I wanted to prove basically everyone that, hey, friends, family, all the criticism shit that I ate, I was fed up with it. And I was like, you know what? Like, you might have the moment where it's like, Blake, don't do it. Don't try it. You're going to fail. Everyone's going to criticize you. You're going to have to eat the hate. And it got to a point where it's like, you know what? Yeah, we'll see. And it's, for me, it was more, my driving force was kind of like, I told you so. I can do it, and I'm going to prove it. And when you do, it's, I don't know, as sick as this is, it's kind of this like feeling of like, yeah, like you doubted me and now I proved it. And then once you get past kind of that point, you start your reasons for doing things change. It's no longer about like, haha, told you so. It's more like, okay, enough of that, the pettiness or whatever drives me. It's more the internal value now. The internal driving factor is the moment I was able to make that first sale, the moment that feeling that overwhelmed my body, I realized if I could show more people this, I know it's going to change their life. And like, it's been my mission ever since to, I'm not saying I can make you a millionaire or a billionaire. My goal is to hope, I want to, right? But at the end of the day, I can only coach, and it's up to people to kind of like, I can show you the door, you got to walk through it. Right. But I know that if I can give you that feeling of like showing you it's possible, your entire life's going to change the same way that my life changed when I received that feeling.
Yeah. So that goes to kind of how that follows through. Guys, I get that question all the time. Well, if he's making so much money, why is he doing this? Why are you doing this? Is this all you're doing? And like, what's the drive, do you think, or what do you think is going to help you get through the next, say, 5 to 10 years? Let's look at that.
So I firmly believe that everyone starts business for profit, right? I don't believe in the benevolence.
You gotta pay bills.
I think it's great. Don't get me wrong. If you want to be benevolent, right, and you want to have charitable things, absolutely. But you can't have those things until you start making money. Like you have to be able to generate an income, whether it's in a 9-to-5 or whether it's as an entrepreneur, in order to give back, right? So I firmly believe that no business is ever truly started because of a charitable reason. I firmly believe that people start businesses for profit reasons. They want to find a way to make money, period. And when you're able to make that money, then depending on who you are as a human, and you can decide what you want to do with it. So when I first started business a few years ago, yeah, my goal was, I want to make some money, right? Isn't that what we want to do? We want to have the freedom that we're after. And then you realize very quickly when you get a little bit of coin in your pocket, it's not about the money anymore. It's almost like it was never the money. There's this level you reach in life where you're no longer about how can I make an income, and you're more about like, how can I become more fulfilled? And the way that I know that's going to be pulling me in the future is not making money. Like, we make money because we want to be financially free, right? You don't need tens of millions of dollars to do that, right? Everyone's number is completely different, right? You just need a little bit of coin in order to do the things that are most fulfilling to you. Like for me, it's giving back. It's giving people this. I'm telling you, it's giving people the same feeling that I received honestly when I made my first sale online. Because like I said, I know what that can do to people. And that alone is enough of a driving factor to push me and pull me through this every single day. I'm in a state right now where could I retire? Sure, I could, but I don't, because it's not about filling a bank account. It's about helping people every single day feel that same feeling. So I believe in the beginning, yeah, we do things because we want to find a way to what's called a salary substitute, right? Let's say you're making $45,000 a year at your job, right? Honestly, the main goal is not to be like, okay, I'm going to make $10 million now online. The goal
you don't start with that.
Yeah, the goal should be, how can I make that 45K, but how can I do it on the internet from this computer anywhere in the world? If you do that, you have one life, period. You won. Like you don't need a dollar anymore, because right now we're all living in a way where we're making specific amounts of money and we're living doing that thing. Imagine being able to make that same amount, but doing it from your laptop on your own terms. You've won life if you can do that.
Yeah, with Tim Ferriss has the book 4 Hour Work Week, and a lot of people kind of freak out about that and they go 4 hours, but he's not talking about earning hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I think when people think about time or financial freedom, they imagine that, well, I've got to be earning $1 million in order to do that. No, if I'm living my life, if all of my bills are, $50,000 and then maybe an extra little bit to put towards retirement, if that takes care of life for me, and then I can go out and do it where I don't have the same level of stress, frustration, and all of the other things that antagonize me throughout my day that I hate dealing with now. And I can do that from home, or I can do it from, a cafe in Thailand or wherever you want to be, then you're there. And then you can build on top of it, right? But I think a lot of people have this disconnect between, oh, I'm earning 50K. Well, I've got to earn $200,000 if I'm going to be free. I got to have 200.
It's not.
And it's just, it puts extra strain on you.
I live the leanest of most humans, right? Look, guys, I don't have the fancy Lamborghini. That's not my MO. Okay. I don't have the fancy $10 million house. That's just not, I'm a normal dude. I'm a normal guy. Could I buy those things? Sure. Do I want those things? No, I don't want any of that stuff. That doesn't mean like everyone has goals and aspirations, fight for those things, but never think that you have to generate 50K in your job and then make $200,000 online. I talk in my presentation where I learned that mistake early on when I was playing baseball. I don't know if you guys remember from the presentation. I was the guy that would step up to the plate at 6 years old and always go for these grand slams. And I would strike out every single time until my coach was like, hey man, just get on first base. That's it. Just get on first. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I want the home run. I want to go from 0 to 100 real quick. Right. And it would never work out. And then it was the moment I realized, let me just get on first base and then start hitting doubles and then triples and then home runs. You start developing, right? Never think that you're going to step into a new game and just become an expert overnight, right? But you can become an expert very quick if you apply yourself.
So let's look at that then. Let's assume you're starting over from scratch, but you've got the knowledge that you had. Right. And we got a lot of people that are doing this for the very first time, or people that have tried over and over. If you were to say, I'll talk about what actions you would take if you were starting over from scratch in a second, but what skills, if you were to do, I've done a training on high income skills, we see that all over the place. If you were to say, okay, these are the top 2 or 3 or 4, I need to learn this, or this has to get done versus, in order to be successful with this, what are the top things you would say?
Sure. So one of the first ones I would say would be a good listener. I think too many people come from a standpoint of talking about themselves, talking about what they can do, right? And I think we need to flip the conversation. And when you start listening, there's a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Andrew Carnegie. Okay. Great book. If you guys haven't read it, I implore everyone to read that book. Okay. And there's a moment in that book where he talks about, to be interesting, you have to be interested. And what he means by that is, if you ever talk to someone right now, anyone on this call, you have friends and family that you're like, man, they're really good they're fun to talk to. The reason they're probably awesome. And you fixate on those people. You might've gotten a promotion at work, right? Something might've happened with your kid's baseball game. And you're like, I want to tell so-and-so. Well, the reason you're gravitating towards that is because you know that so-and-so is a really good listener. Well, what makes that person a good listeners because they're interested, they're asking questions, they're there with intent to listen. So I think one of the best skill sets you could have is be a good listener. Listen to the things and genuinely care what people have to say. Don't listen with an intent to respond. Listen with an intent to understand. And that is like a skill set I feel like is just like this. It's a lost art, right? Because everyone comes from this, like, we're human, right? We come from this selfish motive. At the end of the day, people are very self-motivated in sense of we want what we want and we'll do whatever it takes to get it, right? And I implore one of the great skill sets you could have is really be a good listener. Okay.
So if we're looking at that from a digital marketing perspective, especially, we still have a lot of people who are still in lockdown. Could I equate that to understanding my audience and like what their needs are, kind of thing?
Correct. Yeah. So like understand who your customer is. What are their pain points? What are they going through? What's the journey they're on? And when you understand your customer, you'll sell infinite amount of products and services, right? Yeah. Most people want to skip that step because it's kind of boring. It's not sexy, right?
Yeah,
it's
research is never fun.
I want to build the funnel and sell products and build a product and tinker around with things, right? Because that's the fun stuff, right? But honestly, like I learned very quickly, the better you understand your customer and you understand what they're going through and their journey they're on and the conversation happening inside of their head and the pain points that they're experiencing, and you can solve those, you will never have an issue selling anything to anyone online or offline. Okay. So that's number one. Number two, you got to become a good marketer, right? A lot of times we want to focus on building good products, which, don't get me wrong, it's important, right? I see, if you want to truly win at anything online or even offline, right? Not only do you have to be good at the thing, right? Some of you might be like, I'm a teacher and I'm really good at teaching kids, or I'm an architect and I'm really good at designing buildings. Excuse me. Or I'm a financial planner and I'm one of the best in the world, or I believe I'm one of the best in the world. That's great. That's half the battle. The other half of the battle is you have to become really, really good at marketing that thing. Too many times people are really good at their craft, but they are terrible at getting and advertising how good they are at their craft. So A, become a good listener. B, become a good marketer, because if you can market and sell things, that's like the reason we get in relationships. The reason I got my girlfriend, right? Because it was a form of marketing and sales. I had to sell why you want to be with me, period. Or she wouldn't want to, right? So it applies to all facets of life, right? Just become really good at that aspect. And the way to do that, you can Google, you can research, right? Being inside of the program is going to teach you a lot about that as a byproduct of going through it, which is a good skill set. And then last but not least, a really good skill, I would assume marketing and sales, even though it's two different things, I'd put them together. The third and final thing I would kind of really focus on would be, you got to be network, like have networking skills. And gosh, we probably all hate it, right?
Like building relationships.
Yeah. I would cringe when it'd be like a networking event and I'd have to like go talk to people at first. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. I get anxiety, right? But networking and building relationships with people now is going to benefit you in the future, right? I think it was Brian Tracy or Dan Kennedy. Dig the well before you're thirsty, right? And what he means by that is like, you don't want to be thirsty and then be like, oh, I got to start digging this well to get water. You need to start digging the well now so that when you are thirsty, you can drink right away. And the point of that is to start building the relationships now, because you never know what those relationships could codify in the future. It might not seem sexy. You might be like, Blake, I don't want to do that stuff. Trust me. There is literally one relationship I have right now in business that completely changed my life. Okay. And I would have never imagined that in a million years. But if you can build relationships now with people, dude, 3 months, 6 months, 3 years, you never know what it's going to turn into. And I promise you, being well connected is a big asset, especially going into the future.
Yeah. And so as a shameless plug, guys, if you haven't seen it yet, go to the YouTube channel with the high performance calls, because within the last few weeks, we've done trainings on relationships, trainings on finding a mentor and kind of how to start to, take part in that, putting in the work. Blake, do you know Steve Sims, Blue Fishing?
It sounds familiar.
English guy that does like crazy level concierge stuff for people.
Yeah.
I think you did a Clubhouse group call with him or something. But anyway, he's a guy I've been wanting to connect with for a long, long time. And so I'm kind of sharing with these guys the journey as I go about, kind of trying to find a way to bring him into my circle. I joined his group, paid him some money, just got done sending him a couple of bottles of his favorite whiskey, and just kind of start building things slowly. But it's a huge thing, guys. Relationships go so deep that it's crazy to see what can happen if you're willing to put in that work to build an actual relationship. So, okay. So let's say you're starting over, but you've got the knowledge you've got. So you're good at marketing. You've got the relationships and everything. But if you were to start right now, well, actually, here you go. Because a lot of our people, I think one of the biggest things we have is an inability to make certain decisions, like choosing the niche, or once things are done, just getting going and staying. So it's like this decision making, being decisive and taking action. I mean, you kind of gave the epitome of an answer earlier when you said, I made that first sale. The next day I walked in, said, peace out. I'm going to do this on my own. I'm going to figure out how to do this and make this happen. Like, that's about as decisive as you can get. So people that struggle to make decisions, what would you say there?
Being wrong is better than not making a decision at all. And I think a lot of people are scared of what that means, right? Like, yes is the best answer, right? You get it right, best scenario. Getting it wrong, second best scenario. Not making a decision at all is the worst case scenario. The only way most of the decisions I make, guys, are wrong. Period. They're wrong. Okay. And anyone that tells you different is like lying.
They're lying.
All right.
Yeah.
No one makes to make better decisions than not. It's a rare thing. Okay. The thing is, you only hear about the wins. You only hear about the good decisions, right? You know how many bad decisions I make on a daily basis. Okay. No one ever hears about them because
I mean, when we went and got steak, you got it like medium well. Like, that's a bad decision.
Bad decision.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, Andrew and I went out and he's like, you got a medium well filet. I'm like, yeah. Is that bad? He's like, that's terrible. I'm like, bad decision. Yeah. Right.
I mean, we have to remain friends and all, but that was, if we were dating, that would have been a deal breaker.
Yeah. It's off. Yeah. See ya.
Anyway.
But yeah, so just the way to do it is just make the decision, right? It's okay to be wrong, because honestly, when I'm wrong in my decisions, which by the way, happens a lot and I embrace it, two things happen. A, I learn more than any right decision will ever teach me. When you're right about something, you don't learn anything. You're just like, oh, I
pay attention to it.
I got it right.
You're just like, great result. I'm good. I'm
good. Awesome. Great. That was easier than I thought. Okay. When you get it wrong, your brain goes in this overdrive mode of like, how can I have made this better? And you learn so much more from that decision by being wrong. I'm not saying be wrong on purpose. If you can be right, be right. But when you're wrong, don't look at it as like, oh, I failed. I'm wrong. Damn it.
Well, so how do you overcome that when, because a lot of people struggle with that. They've had maybe a few failures in the past where they make a wrong choice or they do something that doesn't quite work out. How do you overcome the, and okay, I'm going to learn it. I'm going to keep going, as opposed to letting it trip you up. And now I'm taking a week or 2 weeks to kind of stew over what I did wrong, as opposed to evaluating it.
Sure. Yeah. Dwelling on a bad decision has never gotten anyone anywhere, ever, period. Right. Like, you can dwell all day. Like, that's an emotional response. Like, damn, I launched this thing. I spent like when I launched that thing for 2 weeks, right? Like, we're doing 2 weeks on that first funnel before I quit my job. I could have dwelled on that for an extra 3 weeks. I didn't. I refresh button, found a way to make it work, quit the next day. Right. So I think what happens a lot of times is when you make bad decisions and you fail, right? The first thing you're thinking is, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I quit. I'm going to give up, right? Because what your brain is doing is protecting you from that failure, right? It's back in the day, whatever day that was, hundreds, thousands of years ago, right?
Yeah, like, failure meant death.
Yeah. Our biochemistry is designed to protect us, because if you make bad decisions back then, right, you can either end up dead, or your tribe could kind of like ostracize you and exile you from it. So that's the reason our brain's protecting us from that, right? But you have to remember, it's 2021, right? Making a bad decision is not really that bad, because nothing's ever as good or as bad as it seems. It might, in the moment, you might be like, oh, this is the worst thing happening to me. But horrible. Like, give it 30 minutes and you'll look back and go, wasn't even that bad, right? So the way I do it is, when I make a wrong decision or a bad decision or I fail, which, by the way, I failed like 33 times before I ever had anything work out. So if anyone wants to think that you're failing a lot, my number's 33 times before something ever made me a single dollar. Okay. But the way to do it is, A, don't dwell on it. Let everyone else do that for you. Okay. Let your friends and family and haters, let them dwell for you. And B, realize that the fastest thing you could do is kind of pick up the pieces on the ground
Take
and
some
apply.
action and keep moving.
Apply them to the next thing that's actually going to work, right? Because like I said, the first thing your brain's going to tell you to do is say, don't do this anymore, run away, go back to your safe, comfort, warm and fuzzy zone, right? But I promise you, nothing will ever change as long as you stay in that like repetitive, vicious cycle. You have to just realize, okay, I made a bad decision, big deal. What can I learn? Oh, don't do this next time. Trial and error. Let's go again. Right back to it.
Yeah, you just keep yourself moving, guys. One thing that people, we immediately, something happens, doesn't go right, and we look at our weaknesses or we call it a failure and we want to stew on that. Other people are going to do that for you. Like you were saying, your friends, your family, all these other people around you they'll do the I told you so's, they'll do the see it wasn't going to work, there's this, that, and the other. You don't have to do that. You just pick up and go, okay, well, that didn't work, right? We have Edison and the light bulb. Well, I figured out 10,000 ways it wasn't going to work. Now I figured out how it will. You just need to keep yourself moving forward and not get distracted with everything that's going on. So let's assume you're getting started again. I'll bring you back to that. You put it in the partner program. When we tell people, hey, you got to sign up for ClickFunnels. I'm assuming you would use ClickFunnels as a program if you were getting started. You put something there that I think is a big obstacle that a lot of people face. Hey, ClickFunnels is going to sell you a lot of other shit. You don't need all their stuff. It's just the most basic thing. Don't do that.
Yeah.
What would you say to people that have really bad FOMO or shiny object or like, oh my gosh, I have to get this. I have to get this. All of these things are amazing. I need all of it. What would you say there? And how would you keep yourself from doing that?
I'm always going to offer people what it is that I know you need, right? Because here's what's going to happen. When you join things, right? And you join whatever it is, you sign up for a subscription on IKEA, or you buy some on IKEA, or you join something on some type of software, right? They're always going to sell you 1,000 different things. It's not that you don't need them, right? You could need them, right? But I'm always going to let everyone know what you need when you're working with me. Okay. I didn't have to put that text there. I could have let everyone go, oh, go buy everything from ClickFunnels if you want, but I'm not, because honestly, when I built this program, I built it in the most efficient way possible. No one really knows the story behind me building the partner program. It wasn't like, oh, Blake, I need this software and this software. It's like, do you know how hard it was to build an entire online business using one software? Like I had to get surgical with this, right? I could have said, hey, go get this software and this software and this software and this software. And now you're
most other programs do. You end up with 12 different things.
Correct. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make this so economically beneficial for everyone. You can literally run an entire online business for $3 a day. Okay. That was like a virus in my brain of like, how can I make this work? Right. There's a quote by Einstein. It takes any intelligent fool to make things bigger, more violent, and more complex, but it takes a touch of genius and a lot of courage to move in the opposite direction. I wanted to move in the opposite direction. It's easier to say, go get this software. It would have been simple for me to build any program saying, oh, just get that software. Okay, on to the next. To kind of make things simpler was difficult. And when I'm doing that, if you don't need something, I'm going to tell you straight up, hey, you don't need this. Okay. Trust me from experience, because I have a lot of arrows in my back from being the guy that was like, ooh, a butterfly. Oh, there's another butterfly. Oh, shiny object. Yeah. And I'm chasing all these things. And I realized I come back to home, like to status quo, and I go, I didn't need any of that stuff. So just always know if I ever mention something like, hey, you don't need these softwares. Hey, shiny object, I'm always going to lead you in the right direction. Because if I had ill intentions, I would tell you to go get a billion types of softwares. That's not the goal here. The goal here is
because you sign up as an affiliate and you'd make money off of every.
Correct. I could say, hey guys, like sign up for this, sign up for this, sign up for this, right? I'll give you options to do that always, because there's some people that are ambitious enough in a sense of like, I want to have this software because it does more. Because when you do upgrade to softwares, you do get more functionality. Is it required? No. 0%. Right. My social media lead machine, guys, just so everyone knows, is ran off the exact same software. I drink my own Kool-Aid. Same software that I recommend to everyone else on the same type of plan. Same exact thing. And anytime you feel like a shiny object, like, oh, should I buy this? Should I buy this? Just remember, if you're in this program going through it, if I don't recommend it or I say, hey, you don't need it, just trust me on it. I'm not trying. I'm trying to do servitude and save everyone as much money as humanly possible. The same way that when I got started, I wanted to save as much money as humanly possible. But if I do recommend something like, hey, upgrading to this is going to be really beneficial, just know I'm coming from a place of like kindness. And like, I'm there to say, hey, I'm only saying this because I really think it's going to help you.
Yeah. All right. So we're starting out, we're using ClickFunnels. We're focused in. What would you do to start building an audience?
So first off, I would launch my first funnel, which would be, in this case, a social media lead machine to build my first audience. I'd be one of the cool things about the program, right? The partner program is that you're already leaps and bounds ahead of anyone else, right? You don't like when I started from scratch, I had to create their own products. I had to create the funnel. I had to come up with the sales copy. I had to write all, I mean, it was a nightmare. I'll be honest. It was tough. It was a lot of work to create all that from a blank canvas, right? Imagine like creating the Mona Lisa from scratch versus like having the outlines of the Mona Lisa and then you just get to color it in, right? So I would get a product or service out in the marketplace like I did. And then I would start networking my face off, right? When I got started, I had no following, right? And that's everyone. No one has a following when they get started. No one has customers. Everyone starts from the same ground zero, okay? And if you don't have a lot of money to invest on paid advertising, I would start creating relationships, like I was mentioning previously in this call, and start kind of establishing my presence online, letting people know who I was, what I did. And I would start building a following by providing content around the problems that my product or service solved. So if I knew that my product or service solved a way for businesses or people to generate more leads and more sales, I would create content around those problems, right? And I'd find ways to research, hey, what are the biggest problems business owners face? Generating leads and sales, right? Okay.
Yeah, it's all about almost every single problem any business faces would be solved by more money. More money requires more leads. Social media is the best way to do that. And correct. So, we're beginning then. And when he's talking about networking, guys, he's not talking about going to a chamber of commerce event, right? Maybe industry events when they open back up. Sure, that can be great. We've all met people at events like that. Absolutely. But what we're talking about is networking online. There's places to do that. So anyway, go ahead, keep going.
Exactly right. Yeah. So networking online and just meeting people and caring, right? The best marketing strategy you could ever have anywhere in life is caring. And I would just start doing it. I would just start meeting people, sending DMs, introducing myself, right? It's actually fun from a computer because it kind of takes away the anxiety. Like Andrew was saying, I'm not talking about going to like a networking event, although you can, right? I'm not saying do that per se, where you feel like you have to go up to, everyone and introduce yourself and,
Hi,
small talk crap that no one really cares about. And you're kind of nervous and you don't really want to do it. Right. I'm talking about like, go ham behind your keyboard and just introduce yourself to people and provide ways of helping them. When I had no one following me at first, I would go into groups. I would just sit there all day, broke as hell. I had no money, right? I had no followers. I had nothing, but I knew that I had a computer with internet connection. I'd go inside the Facebook groups and I would wait till someone had a problem. And when they had a problem, I was the first person that sat there like a hawk and watched as a way to solve that problem. And I'd reach out to them like, hey, John, I noticed that your SMTP was broken. Can I help you out for free? Like, yeah, of course. And then you start meeting these people. And next thing you know, John has an audience of 6,000 business owners. And he's like, hey man, like and next thing you know, you're forming joint venture partnerships because you went out of your way to help someone with no underlying motive. Anytime I help someone online, I still do it to this day. People reach out to me, I respond, I go, yeah, I got you. Let me help you really quick. Right. Never come from an underlying motive like, oh, it's because you want to sell stuff. Come from it just from a place of servitude and just help and go on your merry way and watch. They're going to come back and want more of that service, but in a way that has more reciprocity to it next time where it's kind of like an eye for an eye. Like you help them, they're going to help you now. So starting from scratch, you have the most valuable asset under your wing right now, which is something that honestly 99% of the online world does not have, which is a working funnel with working copy, working payment processing, and working products, right? That was tried and true and tested over and over again. And all you have to do is just kind of get it out in the world and do that by going and meet people.
Okay. So a couple of questions that have kind of asked this, looking at, we'll get to email follow-up sequence in a second, the importance of email there. But I've had a couple of questions about kind of global versus English speaking, let's say, right? And when we're looking at selecting a niche or an audience, like, should we push for it? Because there's a big world and there's 47% of the world's population's on social media, or do we focus on, some of the bigger markets, English and things?
So I would focus in terms of like finding the correct markets. Is that what you mean, Andrew?
Yeah. So we still have people that are selecting a niche or they're trying to take their niche and they want to do, all of the time I get people asking about Spanish or, other languages, and should they worry about that, or should they really just do, I mean, because the program's in English, US is the biggest market.
Mhm.
Like, what do we look at?
Yeah, I would focus on English speaking, right? If you have a leg in the Spanish and you want to like translate the funnel, feel free. Don't let me stop you, right? If you want to translate, the copy's there. Okay. That copy, all that stuff's built, it's there. But what I found a lot of success is English speaking. United States works well, Australia, Europe. Okay. A lot of these countries they're primed to buy and look for solutions to help their businesses. I've had great success. Okay. My funnel right now, when I say it generates like $537 per day, honestly, and don't tell anyone, that's a very modest number. It does more, but I'm not the guy to posture and peacock in terms of like what you're going to just generate $10 million a day. I'm not going to say that crap. Okay. But just know like it works. So if you go after English speaking, I've had tremendous amount of success there. Okay. The market's never going to dry up. There's new people, there's new businesses starting every single day, 100 million, 500,000 starting every single month. Okay. There's always businesses there to look for more leads and more sales.
Yeah. I think to begin with, especially guys, don't worry about some of the other international markets until you've figured out the basics. I think most of the time people bring some of that up. And I'm not saying necessarily the individuals that ask these questions, this is the issue for you, but I think a lot of times when people are trying to do something like that, add extra languages, or they go, well, I can't narrow down my niche. And well, I researched it and they keep coming up. Like I have people that come and they've got 3 niches and I give them homework and they come back and they've got 4. And then we talk and they come back and all of a sudden there's 7. I'm like, no, you're going the wrong way.
Yeah.
I think it's just an excuse not to start because you're scared of scared of failing, scared of it not going right. And so I'm going to delay it out as long as possible. Because if I delay it, well, I never got it going. And that's an easier excuse to deal with than it just didn't work out, or I made a wrong choice, or, and starting it up again.
I used to do that. I did that all the time. Actually, I would focus on like 5 different businesses at once. And, I wanted to be like, I'm a serial entrepreneur, but none of them were making any money. Right. And when I realized when I, had a little self-reflection moment of life and I was just honest and real and self-aware with myself and, talked to myself in a way that was like brutally honest, I realized the reason I was focusing on multiple things, whether it's multiple niches or different businesses, was for the mere fact that I was scared of which one was going to work. And when the one worked, I wanted to jump ship to that one. But what you fail to realize when you're caught kind of in that moment and you're in that situation is when you dedicate splitting time, especially in the infancy stages of anything, it's just not going to work out, right? If you do 2 niches, right, you're literally saying I'm putting 50-50 time, okay? I'm put 50% of my time on real estate, and let's say I put 50% of my time on digital agencies. Well, the person putting 100% on digital agencies is going to beat you hands down, no matter what. The man who chases 2 rabbits catches none. So I'll be the first to admit, when I focused on multiple things, it was an excuse to stay busy and not really make moves to move the needle forward.
Yeah, it's all about making decisions, guys. And I talk about that a lot. 5-Second Rule is a great book. Go read that. It talks about just making decisions. We talked about it the other day, but I would say there's a number of, Paul, you're going to have to send me the first question again. That's why there's just too many. I don't have it in front of me. There's too many people that are not getting started simply because they don't want to make a decision, and just do it. Just choose and go and get it going. Make it happen. So, all right. So we've talked about networking. We talked about getting going, a simple funnel, rolling with exactly what you've got here. What were some of like the biggest obstacles that you've overcome? How'd you overcome? And this is, we're talking about, let's say from 0 to $1 million. That's a number a lot of people want to hear about. So what were some of your biggest obstacles in that initial growth phase?
It's a lot harder than you think to get to $1 million. And that's okay, because difficulty and it being worth it are 2 totally different things. So when I was fortunate enough to generate my first million, which by the way, it wasn't just me. Okay. I'm not the person to take all the credit. I was happy to be involved, to be able to say, hey, my efforts contributed to generating the first $1 million online. Right.
Yeah, you got a pretty rock star team. You got one individual, especially, that's always there behind the scenes that nobody really knows about, but he's He's a king. He's an ace there. He really is.
100%. Yeah. And this was even pre this, right? I was working on this project, and it was an online course, and it was in the real estate niche. And I remember it was like my first opportunity to really like, can I make some money online? And can we, help people get kind of an end result that we're selling on this thing? And I remember putting blood, sweat, and tears into this thing. Like, and what you realize when you're done, so fast forward, we were able to generate $1 million in 43 days after launching this funnel. 43 days, it was doing like $23,000 every single day. It was, let me remind you, I didn't even know that was possible. I'm looking at these sales numbers, and I'm just like, there's got to be a glitch. Like, is the comma over too many places to the left? I just felt like it was messed up. And I'm sitting there, and when I was done and I looked back, and you get to see all the obstacles, just realize you are going to go through more shit than what any book or any program or any TED talk or motivational video can ever brace you for. Okay. And just understand that that's normal. If you feel like you're working on something and you're passionate about and you're putting effort into it and nothing seems to be going right, then you are on the right path. Okay. Because when you're starting any type of business, or when you're creating something new or from scratch, or you're building something, right, things are going to go wrong. And that's a normal thing. So if you ever find yourself frustrated and annoyed and angry and like, this isn't for me, or I'm not getting the hang of it, then you need to look in the mirror and go, yes, you are doing the right thing. And I faced every single obstacle you could think of along the way. We would launch this thing, the payment processor would break. Literally, like imagine 3 months of work and you go and launch it. And when people are ready to buy, your order form does not work. Dagger right to the heart, right? Funnel would break. Buttons wouldn't work. JV partners back out of things. Emails don't fire off as they should. Tech breaks. Internet connection goes out. Literally, if you can think of something that can go wrong, it will. It's like Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will. Okay. But here's the best part. If you can like fight through all that noise and all that crap, right? And you can overcome those obstacles, the worth it part supersedes any type of hard work you could ever do. Because looking back and being able to say, wow, we generated $1 million in 43 days. Okay. And we actually broke that record and did $1 million in 25 days about a year ago. It's the most rewarding feeling because you finally get to see the fruits of your labor come to fruition. And there's no other feeling like that, because there's a book. It's called The Obstacle is the Way. Literally, if you want anything in life, it's never around. Okay. It's through. The way to get the things, you got to just go straight through the bull crap, period. Okay. And if you feel like you're in situations where you're going through kind of the rock tumbler, that's a good sign. When I first started online, okay, it was like I was this ugly rock and I was just thrown into this rock tumbler and I was just beat to shit left and right, just getting slammed in the walls, turning out. But when I came out polished because I got to learn. Okay. And that's everything you think of. When Michael Jordan stepped onto the basketball court, did he have a natural talent for basketball? Sure. But the guy was cut from his high school basketball team. Okay. He went through the rock tumbler. He became better and better and better, and then eventually became an expert. And that's what we all have to realize, right? When you're starting something new for the first time, you are not going to be that good. And that's normal. Okay. You're not going to be great yet. But if you keep pushing forward and you keep going and overcoming the obstacles, you're eventually going to become an expert. Okay. It could take you a year. It could take you 20 years. Who cares? Just stay with it. And you're eventually going to find a way to make that thing work for you.
Yeah. You've got to, if you put in that time, and that's a quote that I say all the time, people tend to estimate what they can do in the short term, but they grossly underestimate the long term. Put in the time and effort, to learn a skill. Every once in a while, someone asks, me how I'm able to do, like, every single day I'm doing 20, 30, 40 minutes of content every single day. It's because for the last 5-6 years, I've been studying and then delivering content multiple times a week over and over and over and over and over again. And so you develop kind of a database within to be able to do that. The more that you guys do this, the more that you study your marketing, the more you research your niche, the more that you power through, you'll figure that out. You just need to stay steady with it. Yeah. So exactly. So someone wrote, I need to stop effing around and launch. Absolutely. Yes. I agree with a lot of that for a number of you. Yeah. Knock it off and do it.
And here's a lesson about launching. I have this motto I kind of created a year or so ago called launch imperfectly. Okay. This is a motto we live by, right? It's called launch imperfectly. I preach it. I want everyone to slam that in your brain. And anytime you're like, do I launch yet? Yes. The answer is yes. Launch imperfectly. Now, I don't mean launch something that's like literally cannot work.
Right.
But anytime I've ever launched something that I thought was perfect, I was always way too late to the market and I always bombed, right? Anytime I launched something imperfectly where like maybe a button didn't work properly or like something was ugly on the funnel or whatever, I always made money. To this day, it's like this sick, crazy karma in my universe that's like, Blake, anytime you wait too long, you will not make $1. But anytime you launch something that's not quite ready, we will reward you.
Just get it
with
out there.
Exactly. So always remember that, guys. Just throw stuff out there because you'll learn more from getting it live than you will by letting it kind of like die under a rock.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been going for a while. We're going to take a few more minutes. Blake, you good to we wrap up at 1? Right?
Yeah, anytime.
Okay.
I can go past it if we need to.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll do that. All right. So we're going to do a little bit of Q&A, guys. I'm going to let's do marketing like as rapid fire as you can. So now's the time if we want to get into a couple of things. So one question I got was Facebook's changing their algorithm. I tell people all the time, like they change it every year. And every single year we have people say, oh my gosh, Facebook marketing is dead. It's not going to work anymore. They made a change. It's done. I'm going to quit. Right. So new algorithm changes. They're changing their targeting again. What would you say, how to get around that? How to get leads?
It's just always an opportunity in disguise, right? There's Facebook and Pinterest and Snapchat and TikTok and all these platforms. Guys, we have no control. We're never going to have control. The greatest marketers on this planet. If you're not Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook, you will never have control over a platform. And honestly, they change that algorithm like every couple of weeks, probably. Okay. You just don't know.
It's all the time.
It's all the time, right? Here's the thing. Never look at it as like an excuse as to why shit's not supposed to work. Look at it as an opportunity to leverage it in a way that you can become better with it. You know how many times the algorithms changed in the last year, probably? And honestly, it's never affected my business. Keep doing you, keep being good. Don't give it a reason to not work because honestly, that's not the reason. The algorithm's going to change. It should not affect your business.
Yeah. And especially because we talk about all this work with networking, getting in groups, doing stuff organically and doing that because, you know, I've done this. There was a brand that I was doing work with similar to this a couple of years ago. And they were cruising doing anywhere between, you know, $3 to $8 million a month, but it was all advertising. And every time a new algorithm change would come through, all of a sudden they're spending a few $100,000 a month on ads. And all of a sudden I can't spend anything because it's broke. Right. And you go from a ton of leads to nothing. And you go, what the heck's happening? If all you're doing is relying on one source, is why we talk about being balanced, guys. You've got to be balanced with your approach with everything. So, yeah. All right. What other questions do we have as far as marketing goes, guys? What would you like to know? Do you see how, all right, I get this question once in a while. Like, I know we've got some members that are doing things well on other platforms. Do you feel like this overall concept works well outside of Facebook?
Yeah, we have crazy enough, man. Like I learn what's great about this is it's like an inner circle. It's like a massive mastermind because I get to learn a lot from all of you guys, right? That maybe I didn't know, right? There's people that get on Groupon and stuff and Instagram and LinkedIn, and they find ways to generate leads there. So I use Facebook because Facebook is kind of the honey hole. It's the powerhouse. It's the biggest one, but it's not the only one. There's alternative ways to make a business work. And it's by exploring those different lead sources, those different platforms, you could find yourself what's called like a little honey hole, like where you find that gold and you could kind of camp out there. We have people doing it all the time. And I'm always blown away because I'm like, I never thought of that. Right. And yeah, there's always going to be a new platform, right? And it's our job as business owners to never kind of get romantic with how we make our money. Like if I make all my money on Facebook, let's say, I never want to get romantic with that because when the taxi cab drivers and the taxi companies did that, they lost to Uber, right? Hotels, it happens with hotels, with Airbnb, like you can never get romantic with it. So anytime something new happens, like a new platform arises, like a TikTok, right? Embrace it and look at it as an opportunity to be like, wow, I could probably apply this concept there. We have people on TikTok crushing it right now, literally, not only building TikTok followings, but selling a crap ton of these digital products because they're just leveraging different platforms.
Yeah. Be willing to be flexible with things, guys. Okay. So be willing to use Clubhouse. I think he just kind of mentioned, using that. All right. So Jeff's asking, what would you say 3 areas to focus on from launch to making 10K per month?
So after you launch, I would start generating my first income organically, right? Follow a lot of the training. There's the training inside of the program with traffic and learn how to leverage Facebook groups in a way to provide value. And when you provide value, people are going to start paying you for your products and services. It's just like, it's what happens, right? Because you're providing solutions for free. And when you're able to do that, people are going to naturally want to pay you more for additional resources. So once you start generating some income from organic, I would probably then take that money and reinvest it back into the business and run paid media, because paid media is going to be the way you can ultimately scale this thing.
Right. Scaling aggressively there. Okay. Let's see. Second question. Can I do email sequence with ClickFunnels upgrades or follow-up funnel, or do I need like an outside autoresponder?
No, you can do, so you don't even need to upgrade technically. Again, that goes back to the original $97 plan of ClickFunnels. You do not need to upgrade. All the emails are already in your funnel, okay? And they're already ready to rock and roll. If you do want to upgrade, okay, when you get to the email section of the program, I do have an option where if you want to use follow-up funnels, you can do so. I teach you how to do it. What follow-up funnels is going to give you basically compared to just the current version is with follow-up funnels, you're just going to get better segmenting, meaning you can host people in different lists. Like these are the people that opted in but didn't buy. These are the people that bought. It's just a little more, it's more robust in terms of email sequencing. And if you want to do that, you can upgrade. I think ClickFunnels charges $297 a month for it, but it is not required. Okay. If it was me, my best advice, start with the plan I suggest to be the most economical. And then once you generate some money and you want to grow the business, consider upgrading.
Okay. Yeah. So the emails again, guys, are there to begin with. If you decide you want to put in a whole funnel, separately, you can. It's not 100% necessary, right? I've got one because I'm doing funnels for other things like there, but you can use the most basic program. Okay. Do you boost Facebook Lives at all? You don't do many Facebook Lives anymore, do you?
Well, I would love to do more Facebook Lives. So we just got a new office and it is the worst echo in the world.
It absolutely is.
So bad. Oh, it's terrible. No, I would definitely be doing Facebook Lives. I just literally have not done one in like 3 months for the mere fact that if I got on a Facebook Live right now, the echo in our office is a 5-second echo. We have like interior designers and echo and sound specialists coming in to like completely redo our entire office. So if I did do Facebook Lives, you could boost it, right? Get a pay, Facebook's a pay to play. So if you do pay, they're going to get a little more reach. But honestly, just getting on camera doing a Facebook Live is already a win.
Okay. What's your view on reaching out to engage bloggers in, a particular niche to exchange value for content or for them to promote?
Absolutely. That'd be a great joint venture partnership. Reach out because if they have your audience, do a little research, do a little background, right? Never reach out with an intent of like, hey, I got this product. They're probably going to blow you off, right? Reach out with like intent that you read their articles, you found something interesting, you find a common ground, something to talk about, build a little bit of a relationship, and then come in with a way to do some business. I would never go straight to someone and say, hey, you want to do business right away? You could try. Ultimately, my approach is a little different.
Yeah, take time, build a relationship.
Yeah.
Michael's saying, I must admit, personal bias, man, Facebook's not the same respected business level as LinkedIn. Michael, I would tell you this. Here's a quick stat. 74% of the population of the United States making over 75,000 is on Facebook. 3/4 of the people on the planet or in the US that make over $75,000 are on Facebook. So
yeah, and there's a ton of businesses on Facebook.
Yeah, there's over 100 million on Facebook.
Yeah,
there's a reason that it's as big as it is. So here's something important to remember. Do not let your personal bias affect what you're trying to help your customer with, right? Yeah. Because it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with where your customer is and how you can reach them. Now, that's not to say that LinkedIn isn't a good platform. I've used LinkedIn for marketing extensively. There are certain niches that work great there, but don't downplay Facebook just for giggles. Okay. So yes, this video will be recorded. Will the program focus only on Facebook? That's the main focus of the program. I've done some additional training on some of the calls, the high performance calls that you can get that. So what's the view on YouTube ads? Blake, that's something you were just kind of looking at recently, right?
Yeah, YouTube ads are great. Like, don't start on Facebook. That's my perspective, right? Start Facebook. If you don't want to, never like, I would have loved to done every ad platform inside the program. It would have just, honestly, it would have drowned all of us, right? It would have been like too much learning and not enough doing. Okay. Right. So Facebook is like I said, it's the biggest place, right? It literally is the biggest place.
Yeah.
But if you want to explore alternative platforms, YouTube can be a great one. Okay. YouTube, TikTok, right? Instagram, which is kind of connected with Facebook for obvious reasons that they own each other. There's just a bunch. Like we're even going to start experimenting with Hulu and running commercials and stuff. So like get creative, right? Don't just be like, oh, I can only use this. My recommendation is start with one. And when you master one, move on to the next.
Yeah. Don't try and tackle everything all at once. Don't use it as like what we were talking about before as an excuse to not do something because, oh, now I've got to study YouTube or now I've got to study this. And I know some of you guys that are newer that haven't launched yet. We're talking about all these other platforms. Don't worry about it. If it gets you, frustrated, if you're going, oh my gosh, I have to do video, I have to do YouTube. I didn't know I had to do YouTube. You don't have to do YouTube. You don't have to do Instagram. You don't have to do LinkedIn. We're not saying you have to. This is set up. It works awesome on Facebook. We're just talking about other methods, right? Like Blake's saying, inside the program, it focuses there because you can get drowned out with education. Drowning you guys in education and additional training is my job. That's what I'm doing every day. He gives you what you need to make it work and get up and going as soon as you can. What if there's only one niche that I'm currently thinking about? Then go after one niche. That's how you start.
Yeah, go with one. And
don't worry about another two. You've got some traction.
And here's another thing, guys, too. Like if you work on a niche and you're like, Blake, it's not working out. Here's my first question. How long have you been working on it? And most of the time someone's like, it's been 3 days. And I'm just like, you know how long it took me to get my first niche to work? A month, an entire month for my first niche to work.
But that's marketing and content every single day. Because here's the thing, and I don't think anybody's on this call that did, but recently I've had a few people that have come back like, hey, I need to figure out why this isn't working. I'm like, well, you haven't posted since April. Or, oh, hey, look, in the last 2 weeks, you've posted 3 times and the only thing you posted is an image of your blueprint. No one's like, you're not connecting. You've got to do more.
Exactly right. Yeah. So never always look at it as like my niche. It's not necessarily that the niche doesn't work. It's just that you don't understand enough about that niche yet. Right. And if you keep pushing it, I'm not saying you have to stick on it. You can move to the next one if you want. I would fight the difference, right? Remember, the obstacle is the way, so go through it.
Quit trying to bounce around too much. People, you're expecting to just go, oh man, people are going to fall all over themselves and throw money at you. Like you got to get in front of them, build a relationship first. So
yeah, if you want a quick way to figure out how to, like, what niche should you go after? Find what is it that you enjoy doing. What are some things you're passionate about? Okay. Well, there's probably a good chance there's a lot more people in business that are passionate about those same things where you can provide value. You might have imposter syndrome where you're like, I don't think I'm good enough. Trust me, you're good enough. Okay. I wake up every day with imposter syndrome. It's like a real thing, but it's not real. It's like fear. Fear is not really real, but danger is, right? Things can be dangerous, but fear, what scares Andrew might not scare me. What scares me and vice versa. Right. So this imposter syndrome is kind of this like fake thing plaguing all of our entrepreneurial brains, right? But in the reality of it is that I promise you, each and every one of you on this call right now, you have a very specific skill set that is pertinent to you, that you're probably one of the best at. You might not believe it, but I'm here telling you, you are probably one of the best at it. So start thinking about things like that and other businesses and niches that can relate to that and go after things in that realm.
Yeah, I would say, honestly, for a lot of you guys that are still debating on niches, and I've had a few people that was talking about, 3 and then 4 and then 7. And for some reason, the number's not slimming down. Stop it. Pick one and go, right? Because most of the ideas aren't going to be bad. You just need to get started, right? You just need to get going.
Correct.
Right. So niche real estate, if you live somewhere that's not where you could live wherever the hell you want. I can market anywhere in the world, right? And I can reach an audience anywhere in the world. Where you are doesn't have anything to do with it. Because you're not teaching them, like if I'm jumping into real estate, I'm not teaching them about real estate. I'm talking about marketing and advertising and what Blake said, what my product sells, right? Or what my product, what problem it solves. So, what's the difference between niche marketing and internet advertising? I think that there's a lot of differences.
Yeah. So listed in the 2000 niches. Yeah. So niche marketing, guys, is just like, you could go after different niches. I mean, before I go into it, view that sheet as inspiration, right? There's going to be some things on there that the purpose of putting them on there is not because they're like exact niches to go after. It's to get kind of the juices flowing in the brain, right? So internet advertising, for example, would be like maybe you start approaching advertising agencies, right? Think of all the different agencies out there that advertise. Imagine going to digital marketers, right? Or digital agencies and saying, hey, think about it. Digital agencies, their main clientele are business owners. It's people like, let's say, a small bike shop or a local lawn care business. They're trying to generate more leads and sales. You could go to that digital agency and inject your products and services with them as a way that they can push them down their distribution to other people. You don't have to do anything. You're just forming a partnership with them and they're doing all the marketing for you. Because think about it, right? For example, on internet advertising, right? You go form a partnership with a digital agency, right? And this specific digital agency has 200 local bike shop clients, right? And you go to this digital agency and say, hey, listen, I have a really cool course that could be added to your services to give you additional value to provide to your clients, right? And now as they're getting new clients on board or they want to send an email out, they can say, hey guys, we have a brand new course. It's called the Local Bike Shop Lead Machine. We think each and every one of you should have this set up on top of the services that we're providing. And now you're injected into the bloodstream of that type of business and that ecosystem.
Yeah. Again, guys, that goes to relationships. And I talk about, there's a number of you guys that I've talked about with this on strategy sessions. And I'm not just blowing smoke when I give ideas like that, right? Blake's done it. I've done it. Like there's legitimate opportunities to take whatever business you're in and combine this with it, whatever niche you're in, and build a relationship with someone else that could possibly give you continuous referrals, right? That's what a joint venture is. There's a lot of ways to go about that. So if after launching your client asks you to do their page for them, how much is a reasonable charge? I think it depends. We've got the DFY Plus, which is kind of a different conversation. You've got to have the rights for that. If you're doing it separately, I don't know. Are you?
We charge $1,500 for it, and we sell probably one right now, like maybe one every other day. Funny part is we were selling it. If you're going to do this for someone, people are willing to pay. I was the most shocked when it came to that, guys. The Done For You Plus aspect of this. I'm sure Andrew talks about it. It's available in alternative programs that we have. But here's what's crazy about this thing. And first off, everyone gets access to the light version for free. But here's what's crazy about this thing. We originally charged $800, and my operations guy goes, Blake, this is way too cheap. And I'm like, what? Like
I told you the same thing.
And yeah, Andrew's like, dude, way too cheap. And I'm over here like, huh? Like, I feel like it's like kind of a good price. And like, maybe we could charge more. And long story short, I literally doubled the price of this thing. Okay. It's like $1,600 now. Right. And business went up, shockingly enough. It's like, there's some weird phenomenon with price and quality, right? You guys ever go to the store and you see like kind of like same types of products, but you kind of like gravitate towards the most expensive one in a sense, thinking that it's better. There was some weird thing that happened. Like we sell a ton of them and we charge double the price for it. So like, it's a really powerful product. So if you're ever going to do this for someone, like I would personally charge over $1,000 at least.
Yeah. At the same time, if you're not doing it, you can outsource that stuff too. Like you can find someone to do a lot of that customization for you. I build stuff like that for people. I don't ever do it. I've said that 100 times on these calls. I'm not going to be the guy sitting on Canva working out how to do graphics. That's not me.
Yeah. And if you want to like a little hack, okay, just because I love you all on this call, a little hack to all this, right? The masterclass that everyone's providing in this, right? Okay. The masterclass is really the directions in a sense on how to set up a Done For You. Okay. So if you go through that masterclass, which is a product that you're selling people, and you understand how to do the masterclass, it's really the tutorial. It's the training on how to do a Done For You. So you could always put a VA in it, have them go through the masterclass, and now you have a virtual assistant that you can pay $150 to, and you can charge $1,000, and you don't touch anything. They have the training. You don't have to train them. You just tell them to go through the masterclass, and now they can set up the Done For Yous for you while you collect the lion's share of the capital.
All right. Awesome. Okay, Blake, this is now officially the longest high performance call we have ever had. We've gone over an hour. I appreciate you being on because you are the epitome of the CEO life. You're the reason we're all here. So everybody give a big round of applause to the man. Say thank you. Appreciate you being on. Do you have any kind of last parting words? Go out, get shit done, rise up, do whatever. I mean, what do you have?
Yeah. That's it. I could say all the motivational stuff all day. At the end of the day, I don't think you guys need it. You guys are led by a great leader, Andrew, here on all these calls. I would just be regurgitating, repeating everything he said. I think you guys, at the end of the day, everyone knows what they're here to do, what they're here to accomplish. And Andrew's going to guide you guys to victory. So I appreciate you having me, man.
Appreciate you being on. All right, guys, go out, do some amazing things. Remember, tomorrow we're going to have, we're talking entrepreneur health and brain health, cellular health, and really making sure you've got the energy to do what you need to do and do it long-term. So make sure that you join us tomorrow. Appreciate you guys, as always, showing out. Go out, and as always, rise from the ashes, fly like the phoenixes that you are. Have an amazing day, guys. Bye-bye.